I'm Tamara Steffens. I'm the managing director at Thomson Reuters Venture Fund. For those of you who don't know Thomson Reuters, we are not just a media company. We are a huge technology company based out of Canada, out of Toronto, focused a lot in fintech, so they asked us to speak today. Our venture fund was started about a year and a half ago. We've done 12 investments. Generally speaking, we do Series A, check size 3 to 7 million. We don't lead, but we often write the biggest check. We're super interested in artificial intelligence in fintech because it's a huge part of our strategy as a company. And I'll tell you a little bit about that, and then we'll just get into what I think is happening in the industry and in general, and I'm going to lean in a lot on what we're investing in and what we look for and what I think is happening in the market and what will happen. I'll predict the future for you. You heard it here first. What do we do and why is fintech important to Thomson Reuters? We are a huge tax technology company, so we do a lot around tax. We also do a lot around risk and fraud. But in particular, we have two big data sources. One is called Checkpoint, it's tax data. One is called OneSource, it's also tax data, but it's a tax engine. And we really believe that those data sources can power very sophisticated AI technology or AI tools. So when we're looking, although broadly we do look at a lot of technology that's adjacent to tax in fintech, I'll talk a little bit about what we think is happening in particular in tax, because I think it's a huge area where artificial intelligence is going to make a big impact. A lot of people talk about legal. We look at a lot of legal tech as well. You know, the other side of Thomson Reuters. We do a lot in the legal industry as well. But I think tax is really an application that is going to benefit from artificial intelligence and a lot of the tools and technologies that are out there today. If you look at data collection, there's just a ton of data out there specific to tax for the US market, the North American market, and even globally. We classify all of that. We collect all that data. We collect all the laws, all the changes in tax, and put that together. Most CPAs and accountants use our technology, so we have that data as well. We also do data classification. So you think of rules-based accounting, et cetera. That's a perfect area where we think artificial intelligence can be applied. And then last, just tax calculation and e-filing, right? How fast can that be done? How many things can be taken in to make that process of filing taxes easier? And we generally do corporate, so we're not looking, you know, we're not TurboTax, we're not out there serving the consumer, just to give you background. So one of the things Thomson Reuters does really well is research, in addition to media. But media is a smaller piece of our overall business. We do research for tax and we do research for legal, and we have very large data sources that we collect that data in. On top of that, we can use artificial intelligence or technology that's out there, some of it new, some of it's been around for a while. We have a lot of our own machine learning models that we use on top of our data. But if you think about how it can be applied to tax in general, it's a perfect example. There's a couple of things that we've invested in recently that I like to give examples of. One of them is a company out of Silicon Valley. It's called NeoTax. And you know, at first they thought they were going to create this amazing tax engine. They had a lot of support. And you know, it is an amazing tax engine. They did create a great tax engine. But there were already tax engines out there. Yes, they applied AI to it. Yes, it was, you know, good and fast. But what they did then was they said, you know what, we're going to solve a big problem in the industry. The big problem was corporations can take a research and development tax credit, and it's really, really hard to calculate that. I think our head of tax said we spend $6 million with a large consulting firm every year just to pull together our research and tax credit detail so that it can be audited and managed and taken as a tax credit for Thomson Reuters. So what this company did with this really amazing tax engine was they said, we're going to tap into every engineering system that's out there. both internal systems, external systems. Think of Jira, GitHub, those types of things that engineers use. There's many others that they tap into. And they're going to calculate what an engineer does on a day-to-day basis, hour-to-hour basis, when they're putting code into GitHub, when they're anything that they're doing as far as help desk and QA, et cetera. And then they applied AI to that, and it actually calculates the tax credit that you can take. So they started mid-market, but this would actually work across large corporations as well. A brilliant way to apply AI that has benefits today, where a company can, like Thomson Reuters, we could save millions of dollars just by deploying technology AI to a tax problem. So yes, are they going to become a great tax engine in the future and do other things? Of course they will. They could do that today. But by solving one big problem, they can go out and capture a significant piece of the market and a problem that people are struggling to solve. Another company we're incubating and we're working with quite a bit actually looks at tax from a research perspective and gathers that data so that you can apply the latest laws, the latest research to the tax problem. So if you're in your tax engine and you're doing your corporate taxes, it actually will tell you the latest tax issue or law that you need to apply to that problem. It can also check to make sure that you've applied everything to it. Brand new, it's not in the market yet, but it will be. And it's another really good example of how to apply AI to fintech that solves a problem that will save money today, right? You don't have to go out and spend years building a model. They can use their technology on top of our data and create a huge problem solver for the market. So one of the bigger problems in fintech is there's a lot of compliance. You have to follow a lot of rules and also laws. And so we are searching for both technology that can follow the compliance and solve the problem. And what do I mean by that? A client-facing chatbot is a good example, right? So if I go in to talk to my mortgage lender and I want to refinance or get a mortgage, I have to get the correct information. And if they're not providing the latest information and it's not correct, they can be liable. And they can lose money on that too. So they have to make sure that the data is accurate. But it also has to follow every regulation and every compliance situation that is required both internally for said mortgage company and externally, the laws and regulations that they have to follow. That's really difficult when it's real time, right? I mean, you're calling up, in today's market, the mortgage rates are changing, I don't know, sometimes it seems like, daily, and if not, seems like more than that lately. So they have to be able to be in sync and following those regulations to make sure that their customer service reps, their mortgage reps can do that. So that's something that we look at quite a bit because we think it's an area that AI can be applied to, again, today, where it can solve that problem. Then you have just generally internal system enhancements. How do you solve big problems? Some of the problems we have just in our own company where we have structured, unstructured data, how do we pull it both together and then have an answer using both sets of that data in different sources? Sometimes we have data in multiple sources of Salesforce, right? And then we have accounts payable, accounts receivable systems. We have to be able to pull all that together to answer a single question for a potential customer. We're not the only ones that are trying to solve that problem, right? That's a big issue that we believe. We've looked at several pieces of technology startups that we think are really promising in this space and that will be able to solve those problems today. And then generally speaking, and I talked a lot about market research, but market research is only as good as the day it is collected, if it's up to date all the time. So both in legal and in tax, but in particular tax, you have to stay current. And those laws are changing often. So people have to make sure that they have that data to be able to apply the technology to the data and to the tax problem. So I've given you some examples of things that we've invested in and what we're looking at from a overall perspective in finance and in fintech. But I'm open to questions. If anybody has any questions, we've looked at hundreds of companies over the last 6 months in this space. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have in this space and talk a little bit further about what else we're doing at Thomson Reuters.